If you've watched a WEC race before, you've probably seen one of these. And if you've been to a track, you've definitely heard one. But this is a tyre gun, and it's a small part of the highly choreographed pit stops that we have here in the WEC. And that's what we're going to delve into a little bit more today, about how important these motorsport dances are and each step that goes into making sure it's perfect. Because don't forget, it's not just about how fast you go on track, it's also about how fast you stop. Step 1. The car comes into the pits, down to 60 kph, and comes to a stop on the marks in the box. The refueler begins filling up the car. At this point, driver change can happen if required. Give or take 40 seconds later, the fueler will finish and it's time for tyres. 4 team members will put in their maximum effort to get that done as quickly as possible. Once the car is equipped with fresh rubber, the car drops to the floor and it's time to head back out on track. Seems simple? Well, that's because it's meant to look like that. The smoother a pit stop runs, the faster it is. Every single person involved has a specific role to play, and if one person makes a mistake, well, that can cost the team valuable time. So let's get into the specifics of what everybody is doing. The first thing you'll probably notice when a car comes into the pits, this guy. Meet the car controller, otherwise known as the lollipop man. He's essentially coordinating the whole pit stop and keeping an eye out for other cars to keep the crew safe. He receives the car and makes sure the car stops in the right position. Once a car comes to a halt in the pits, then refueling can begin. Fuel is essentially the main limiting factor for how long our cars can spend out on track. So essentially every time it comes into the pit lane, it'll probably be refueled. But there are lots of specific things that have to be done during a pit stop to make sure it stays safe and equal for everybody. The fueler has a key role in the pit stop sequence. Fuel is added based on the length of the next stint. Towards the end of the race, teams may opt for a quick splash and dash to save time, adding just enough fuel to finish. Once the tank is full, or filter strategy, the fuel hose must be fully disconnected before the next steps can begin. So the rest of the pit crew isn't just standing around during this time. Oh no, they use every opportunity to make sure that the car is ready and prepared for the next stint. The crew might quickly swap a data stick, tear off a dirty windscreen layer, check the brakes, clean key parts, or remove debris from the vents. Small tasks that keep everything running smoothly. The other thing that can begin when the car comes in and comes to a stop is the driver change. This won't happen during every pit stop for obvious reasons, but when it does, it's a key point during the race for both speed and safety reasons. The idea is that this will be completed during the time it takes to refuel the car. Belts, seat insert, radio cables, hands device, these are just some of the things that have to be considered and dealt with during the changeover. Safety is the priority here. With our drivers racing at incredible high speeds, you definitely want them to be secure and comfortable. Well, that's where the helper comes in. He makes sure that all of these little tasks are done properly. Let's talk tyres. This is probably the bit of the pit stop that you're most familiar with. And I would say it's actually quite like a dance. Every single team will do it in their own way. It's highly choreographed. And next time you're watching a WEC race on the telly, pay close attention to how they do it. Every team will use their 4 pit crew mechanics slightly differently during this moment. But for now, since we're United, let's focus on how they do it. Mechanics wait in a tense position to start their race. Fuel are done, let's go. Starting with the side of the car closest to the pits, one crew member takes the wheel gun and uses it to remove the old tyre, whilst the second crew member will put a new tyre on. And then repeat on the other side. 4 mechanics total. With the tyres being over 20 kilos, this is not an easy task. Once it's done, the pit crew rush back to get behind the white line, the car drops, and off they go. There are so many variables to what can happen during a pit stop that it would be impossible for us to explain them all. But I hope we've given you a little bit more of an understanding of what goes on during these incredible pit stops. And next time you see a car coming into the pit, you know what you're watching, and maybe you can pay slightly more close attention to each member of the pit crew. Because after all, it's not just drivers that win races. Every single team member matters when it comes to keeping that car out on track.